Hello, 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 and welcome. This is Her Talk Show. My name is Sabrina Victoria, and I am here today with Ahriana. I am so excited for this. We are going to be talking deep around the subject of menopause and breaking the silence around that. I'm super, super excited about this. Get comfortable as we explore the triumphs and the challenges faced by women worldwide. Ahriana is here to offer some insights and some inspiration to fuel your personal and your professional growth. Let's jump in. All right, if you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you like and share so that we can spread this news far and wide. We're here every day. We delve deep into the realms of health, wealth, and leadership with some of the most brilliant women globally. We've interviewed over 800 women on this stage, and today we are adding another one to the list. We have Dr. Ahriana Platten. She studied with elders on 5 continents, led ceremonies most people will never witness, and believes menopause is the wildest rite of passage in a woman's life. Her book, Sacred Menopause, A Woman's Guide to Sovereignty, treats this transition like a threshold, not a malfunction or a door leading to decline. She founded Wise Women Without Borders, serves as retreat director at The Ground in Carlton, Oregon, and believes hot flashes deserve better PR. Welcome, Doctor. How are you today?
I am fantastic and so excited to be here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. This is something I know definitely our listeners are dealing with. So, I run a community called Her Nation Global. I predominantly speak to Gen Xers and baby boomers. And so menopause is a topic that's consistently coming up. I just recently had a conversation with my mom about this because I think I'm entering perimenopause. And she was telling me, when she went through this, there was no conversations around this. This was like not a thing when she was going. She didn't even know what was going on. She's bearing through it, just living life. And she's very grateful now seeing that the next generations are now more open about it and talking about it. So I'm super, super excited about this. It's definitely something that I realize is just recently something that we're speaking on. I'd love to know why this. Why have you found such a passion in speaking openly about menopause?
Lots of reasons, but most because it about took my life apart. And because I lived through how difficult it was not being able to identify that what I was actually experiencing was even perimenopause. And because it affected my marriage so deeply, and because it affected my work so deeply, and because nobody seemed to know what was going on. Nobody seemed to be able to just say to me, this is what perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause are. This is how you tell when you go from one stage to another. This is how it affects your life. And it's the most normal and also the most challenging thing you'll probably ever go through.
Wow. Normal and challenging.
Yeah. And interestingly, what you said about us not knowing about it, the word menopause did not show up in writings until 1821. So we think that these kinds of things ought to be passed down from our grandmothers to our mothers to us. It's a relatively newly defined time, even though women have experienced it for a very long time and women had their own words for it in ancient cultures. The way that we have it framed is really relatively new.
Yeah, yeah. So I really like your mindset on this. Whenever menopause does come up in conversation, I know that, we've talked about this. A lot of times women describe it as being a medical inconvenience, like something that just totally sucks. And I really like your mindset on this as far as you really believe it to be a transition to sovereignty. I'd love for you to kind of unwrap that for us. I think this is just beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure to talk about that. And the reason it's such a pleasure to talk about it is because I believe that if we understand why we're doing something, we can do almost anything. But if what we're doing has no reason, no cause, and no benefit, if it's just happening to us, it puts us in victim role, and there is no power in that at all.
Mm.
So when we step into menopause and we claim it, and we really understand it's a rite of passage, and I'm not talking about it has to be tied to some religious idea. I'm saying a rite of passage is when you walk through a doorway or cross the threshold and you intentionally go through an ordeal to learn something. And when you get to the other side, there's evidence that whatever you set out to learn, you actually learned.
Yeah.
So that is available to us as we go through the menopause journey. And menopause is the whole path. The average amount of time a woman will be in the menopause journey is 7 to 13 years.
Wow.
It's a long time in a woman's life to not know what the hell is going on with you.
Is that include the perimenopause phase or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the truth is, postmenopause is really part of that. It's the second half of your life. You're going to be in postmenopause, and that means something. That is a different time than your before menopause period. But perimenopause, menopause, and especially the first few years of postmenopause are really significant.
Okay. What's actually specifically happening during perimenopause and then happening in menopause? Is this because I don't even know? Like, is this when our ability to be able to have baby stops, our period stops? Like, what's happening during these
Yeah,
periods?
so biologically, we're in the transition between being fertile and no longer having children. So the baby factory is closing down. And that is a whole massive hormonal shift that is similar to the whole massive hormonal shift we went through when we were 10, 11, 12 and had our first cycle. And it involves lots of different symptomatic changes. There are over 150 documented symptoms that women have during the course of menopause. And most of them being women, most women know about two or three.
Wow.
They have no idea how many different ways their body is being affected and how it affects everything else they do.
Wow. Wow. Um, so as far as before we kind of shift here, as far as perimenopause and menopause, what are the symptoms? I know you said 150, but does everybody get symptoms?
No,
Like,
but you get the weirdest symptoms. Like
okay.
you can get a frozen shoulder. That's a very common symptom that you would never associate with menopause. Or itchy ears. Itchy ears is a very, very common symptom. Getting some tinnitus, a little bit of ringing in your ears, also really common. It's all hormone related. There just are so many things that it's worth actually just getting online and asking for a list. Just look at the 150 kind of symptoms that are out there because like I said, if you look them up, if you Google them or put them in your chat, they're going to come out. You're going to get that whole list. You just need to know there's a lot. And there are a lot of interesting things that happen for me to discover that I was in perimenopause required several trips to the doctor to the emergency room actually, because I was waking up in the middle of the night with what felt like a heart attack. I was 42 years old and I was waking up in the middle of the night with pressure on my chest and not able to lay down and feeling like my entire body was just anxious and afraid. And I would get up and walk around the room and try and calm down and eventually wake my husband up and say, I might be having a heart attack. And we'd go to the hospital. They would put on all the little tabs and trinkets, check everything, and give me an hour and say, you're fine. It's just
Wow.
anxiety. I don't know what it is. And I tend to resist a lot of heavy medications. A lot of uh, uh, medications affect me strongly. So I went to an herbologist who I'd worked with on other things, and it described to her what was happening. And she said, "Oh, my sweet friend, you are in perimenopause." And it wasn't even there for me. I wasn't even considering that
Yeah.
because I had no idea how early it starts or how long it lasts or any of that stuff.
Wow, wow, wow. At least you had somebody there to tell you. That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. So the baby factory is closing. Does that mean that somebody's period stops?
Yes. Yeah, but the interesting thing is the way the medical world defines it, you are in perimenopause until the day you stop bleeding. And then you are in menopause for 1 year. That's all. 1 year is called menopause. The day that you have reached a year and not had a bleeding cycle, you're in postmenopause. So
Wow.
we speak about this whole cycle as menopause, but in reality, perimenopause is the biggest part of it, and it's a time when you experience rage and you experience tears, and I felt the most bipolar. I think it was the word that I used often. I felt so out of balance so many days, so 0 to 60. Like I can go from completely calm to in a blazing rage for nothing, for the smallest things, because you're hormonally all over the place.
Wow. So could somebody get their period and then go 3 months and then get their period and then get
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
it's
So
so it could be sporadic, but it's actually a year from the last one. So you don't even know until it's been a year.
yeah, and not only that, but a lot of times what happens for women, and I don't really know what the reason is, but a lot of times, and this happened to me as well, you get into that menopause year and you get to 11 and a half months, and then you have a gusher of a cycle, and then you're done. Then you're not going to have any more, but you medically have to start the whole year all over again.
Wow. That is so that happens. You're saying
Yeah.
that happens.
It happens often. Yeah, it happens often. So it's there's a natural place where your body, where for yourself, you're probably the average age a woman goes into menopause is 52.
Yeah.
Well, most of us are not thinking about having babies at 52 years old. We kind of want to be done with that. And we don't really need the whole monthly cycle process anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's really a beautiful thing that the body finishes that and completes it,
Wow.
but also the build up to that, the translation of that in the body and in the life impact is pretty incredible.
Wow. So menopause is usually around 50, you're saying?
Yeah, we usually go into menopause somewhere 51, 52 is the average age.
That's awesome. I know that you have a framework that you teach that helps women kind of navigate the physical, emotional, and spiritual shifts. Can you share that?
Yeah, and so I talk about it a lot. I talk about the difference between achievement and impact. So as we go through this as women, in the first half of our life, a lot of times we are in position to prove ourselves. We're proving ourselves in the work world. We're proving ourselves as mothers. We're proving ourselves as even in friendship, because friendship looks different. We're getting our college degrees, we're getting training in our job fields, or more importantly, elevating our positions and moving through the ranks. Or maybe we're stepping out into the entrepreneurial world, as so many of your listeners are, and building something. What happens when you go in and through the menopause and perimenopause phase is there's a period of time where you really suddenly don't care about all the things you used to care about. You don't care anymore what anybody else thinks about you. You don't care anymore whether you get the next pat on the shoulder or not. You don't even care nearly as much about whether you get the raise or not. You start to really care about whether your job is in line with your personal values.
Yeah.
You start to care about whether you're making a difference in the world. You start to care about what you're doing and what actually happens. And there's a period where women often will come to me and they'll say, I don't know what it was all for. Like, why did I go through all? What is the point? I get up every morning, I work really hard. I get a paycheck and a whole lot of grief. What's it for? And that really is the phase of life that I like to personally work with women, because it's for something. It's for determining what really matters for you in life. And so there's a process of questions. First of all, in this protocol, you'll go through a process of questions that you'll ask and answer with your friends and a group of friends, and questions that you'll journal about and ask yourself that help you to decide what really matters to you. What causes do you really care about? What in the world really gets under your skin that you want to make different? Because we get to that middle mark and we look at 50 and say, well, if I do this really well, maybe I'm going to live to be 100. If I don't do it quite as well, maybe I'm going to live to be 85. And of that 85 years, maybe I'll work until I'm 70. So that gives me, if I count that down, 20 good years to do something that is really meaningful and moving in the world. And then maybe another 15 to enjoy that and to specialize and to decide how much of that I want to do versus travel the world and all those things. So it's a valuable time to really look at your life and decide what is it that you want to do. What is it that you want to impact? Do you want to impact child trafficking? Do you want to impact your granddaughter's life? Do you want to impact education in our country? Do you want to impact economy and how we create economies that support women? Do we want to impact how women are even seen in our culture? What is it that you care about? And it comes up in a way that surprises us when it happens. Because up until that time, the pat on the back feels really good, and the advancement in pay feels really good, and the 5 sales you made this week feel really good, and suddenly it's not enough.
Mm.
And that is a beautiful and difficult thing to experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. As far as, we kind of opened up this podcast talking about the silence around menopause
Mhm.
and how little information is around it or was around it. What is your thoughts on the importance of speaking out loud about this and speaking about the symptoms, and mothers really having open conversations with friends and daughters? What's your thoughts on this?
I think that's really important. I think where I really care about that right now, Sabrina, is in the workplace.
Oh,
Because when we go into, first of all, there are 75 million women in the United States in some phase of menopause right now. That's a massive number when you think about it. 6,000 women a day move into menopause, and those are 6,000. That's properly measured. So remember that not everybody tells somebody. So we know at least 6,000 women a day are moving into menopause. And if you're in this, if you're in the perimenopause phase of this, especially, you are quick to trigger. You are frustrated easily. You are having hot flashes, or maybe you're having cold flashes, which I also didn't know was possible. But you can just as easily have cold flashes and be freezing in the middle of the summer. That the whole thermostat thing doesn't work right. And you are not willing to put up with anybody's crap.
yeah.
You are ready now for the world to listen to what you have to say and not waste your time. And those are powerful emotions, powerful, strong places to be. In the workplace, if you go into a workplace and everybody in your workplace wants it to be nice and warm on a cold winter's day, and you want it to be 65 degrees, you want to open the window, you want to go outside, and you can't, it's almost impossible to think clearly to work. And brain fog is a real thing during menopause.
Yeah.
Brain fog is a real thing. Needing to walk outside and take a break, needing to step out, needing a fan on your desk, needing to be able to say, I'm so frustrated today that if I open my mouth, I'm going to bite somebody's head off. Can I please just go work from home? All of those things are good modifications that any workplace can make if they're willing to understand that menopause is part of life. We would do that for a woman who's pregnant. If a woman who's pregnant walks in and says, I really need to work from home today, we don't even ask why. We just say, yes, go work at home. It'll be perfect. But when a woman is in menopause and can't say it and is embarrassed to say it, then she is not going to perform at the same level that she would if she did just some little things to take care of herself. So it's important for us to break the silence in the workplace and teach people that this is a natural, normal part of life that deserves just as much attention as pregnancy or surgery or children who are homesick or any other reason that we might make modifications at work.
Yeah. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing some workplaces starting to implement anything?
When I walk in the door and I talk to a business owner about it, the more women that are on their staff, the more interested they are. And when I tell them billions of dollars a year are lost because women who have 15 to 20 years earned experience, who are your middle or upper level managers, are leaving their jobs because they're so uncomfortable and so frustrated that they can't even speak about it.
Mm.
Then it becomes important because it becomes about dollars. And it also becomes about losing quality in your business and having to hire somebody new and train them up and bring them back into the level of expertise that you have in a woman at this time in her current condition. So if we can explain in the workplace why it's valuable to do this work, then owners and founders are very interested. But with no explanation, they don't really care about it. They
Yeah.
don't really they will very easily judge a woman as unreasonable before they will stop to consider her age, her circumstances, and that what she's going through is a very legitimate and real medical condition,
Yeah.
not that affects not only the medical way that they move through life, but every other part of their cultural interaction.
Are we finding that a lot of women are getting divorced around this age?
Absolutely. And what we really find is if we measure women at 65, 7 out of 10 who've been divorced will say menopause had something to do with it. Because if you talk to a perimenopausal woman, one of the common things will be, why do I just want to strangle him when he breathes? Right? Like, why is he breathing so hard? The little things that get under our skin about our partners are crazy. They're just, I mean, it's really wild. That's why I say this is the wildest rite of passage you will ever go through. When you recognize, I am so irritated about the way you make coffee. I am so incredibly irritated by this. It makes no sense, but that's what's happening to me.
Do you talk at all to the husbands and what they could be doing a little bit better to be able to communicate? Is this part of the
Yeah. Yeah, my partner and I, my husband and I, we work with men and women together and couples together. We do retreats for couples because this rite of passage on the other side for women, when you get to the other side of your menopause journey into postmenopause, you're going to achieve a level of inner power that looks very different than anything you've ever known yourself to be. You're going to be calm. Your brain is going to work better and differently. There's an actual biological change that happens in the brain that allows us to hold calm in a different way. And you are going to come into what feels like your queendom, your queen self. You're going to gain agency and sovereignty. If your husband doesn't do something along the way, he's still going to be where you were when you started this journey. He's going to be in the younger version of himself.
got
So
it?
it is so beneficial to work with as a couple as you're going through this and have real conversations about the kinds of things that a man can do, not to fix you, because he cannot do anything for you except be nice and understand, but he can do a ton of stuff for himself to bring himself into a different kind of awareness about what matters to him, where he wants to be in life, and who you will be as a couple on the other side of the menopause experience. So my husband, Mark, trains in that area.
That's awesome. I know that you have written a book.
I have.
Yeah, I'd love for you to share what's in the book, who should be purchasing the book, who's it
This is
for?
the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah, the book is called Sacred Menopause, A Woman's Guide to Sovereignty. What you'll find in it is understanding of a rite of passage, what a rite of passage is, what an ordeal is, how you move through this in a way that actually is intentional and meaningful and powerful and builds sovereignty through the entire experience. It reframes many of the symptoms, gives you an opportunity to answer journal prompts, to create ceremonial spaces. My background is in the spiritual world, so there are ceremonies and activities that you can do to clear things like old stuff you've suppressed is going to come up. How do we actually address that? How do we figure out what's bothering us, write about it, think about it, process through it, load it up into a burden basket and dump it in a river? How do we actually go through real actions that help us to have the feeling of unburdening some of those things? So you'll find this entire book is full of those kinds of processes and ways to move through menopause intentionally with a goal and an objective ahead, and feeling like you found a wise woman to walk with you, which is what I could not find until I got to the right question with my herbologist. It is an amazing thing to have a wise woman walk with you when you're going through this, somebody who's been on the other side of it and can actually tell you what's at the end of the path, because it feels like a very rocky road at some point.
Yeah. And then we have a freebie here that you're offering to us. Tell us about this freebie, a 30 days of simple ceremonies and daily reflections. This is great. What is this?
So this is exactly what it says. It's going to come into your email box once a day. You're going to get a quote. You're going to get a little bit of an opportunity to think through that quote through a reflection. What does this quote really mean? What is it saying to you? You're going to get some words to affirm what is true for you and a ceremonial action you can take. And that can be, ceremony is a funny thing. People think of ceremony like weddings that we plan and it has all this stuff to it. But a ceremony can be lighting a candle. You know, a ceremony is something that you do that makes this experience feel sacred to you. And again, sacred is different than religious. Sacred is, this is meaningful. This is me caring for myself and moving myself through a process because I have value in the world and I am worth making this space for. So it reveres the process and the outcome that you're seeking as you go through this. And I can't express enough how having something meaningful to look forward to at the end of menopause helps you to understand it is 100% worth going through. When you get to the other side, you're going to love who you are. But in the middle of it, there's going to be a time in the middle of it that you don't.
Yeah.
And you really need somebody to line up next to you and say, it's okay. This is getting you somewhere. Stay with it.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as your work and who you work with specifically, I know you said you and your husband do some stuff. Who should be reaching out to you? What specifically are maybe some things that you have going on that you'd like to share? And let's start with that.
Yeah, so women in perimenopause should be reaching out to me. And you're in perimenopause, likely if you're in your early 40s, you are likely beginning that journey. And if you can work on the front end of this, the back end of this is really so much better. So women in that age should work with me. Women who are in postmenopause should work with me because Wise Women Without Borders is what we take our wisdom into on the other side of menopause. So that is an opportunity to work with a whole mastermind full of amazing women who are creating amazing impact in the world. So if you are in the postmenopausal years, absolutely reach out to me. If you are in perimenopause or menopause, look up Sacred Menopause app. And the app just launched on the 8th of August and will, for anybody who knows what this means, during Lionsgate. And it will invite you into daily processes, meditations, and teachings by experts on everything from the kind of medical symptoms you might experience to somatic exercises that you could do to sexuality and intimacy, processes that you can be aware of because you'll experience some libido shifts while you're going through this. So there's a lot of really valuable information on the app to help you wherever you are, and an assessment there that you can take that will help you determine where in the process you're falling right now, according to what you're able to tell us about your experience.
That's awesome. And that's an actual app.
It's an actual app, but you will not find it in the App Store yet because we just haven't gotten it that far. But you can find it you don't need the HTTPS. I see that on there. If you put that in, it actually won't come up. I don't know why that is. It's just sacredmenopauseapp.com.
Okay. That's interesting. All right. Well, this has been great. Where can people find you? Obviously, we have the app. We've got some freebies, but where can they find you on social if they're looking for some more info?
You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. If you put Ahriana Platten in Google, I will come up 150 places. So it's not hard to find me. You just have to remember that Ahriana has an H in it.
Yes.
And that is the biggest mistake that people make when they can't find me. It's usually because they didn't spell the first name right. But asoulfulworld.com has all of this stuff. I am really, you can find me on Substack. I'm really easy to find.
Beautiful. Well, this has been great. So appreciate you being here, hanging out with us. For those of you that are that resonated with Ahriana and the goodness that she shared with us today, make sure that you follow her. We have all the links. So all the links that we went over today is in the description below, wherever you are watching us at. This has been great. Any closing thoughts?
Just like I said, this is affecting us as women in a way that we can't even anticipate on the front end. But there's something powerful in an ordeal. An ordeal changes you. And if you can remember that this is not an accident, you are not broken. You are doing something in your body, mind, and spirit that is changing you and giving you superpowers. And it looks just as painful as watching the Hulk, right? When he goes from David Banner to the big green guy, it's a thing. Yeah. It's a thing when we're in perimenopause, and you're going to get on the other side of it. It's going to be amazing. I'm happy to help you.
Beautiful. It's been great. Well, thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us. This was phenomenal. I definitely learned some stuff here. For those of you listening live all the way till the end, thank you. Make sure you follow, like, and share. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation Global, also in a link below. We are women that continue to uplift each other every step of the way. Until next time, as always, do something awesome today. Much love.